The title of my talk is about the automated assembly solutions as key for mass manufacturing of high-speed photonic transceivers. So, but just a few words to MASSTART in general, because I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with it. So MASSTART is an EU Horizon 2020 funded project, which is running since beginning of last year. And the title stands for Mass Manufacturing of Transceiver for Terabit per Second Area. And the main goal there is to really bring down the cost to or even below the €1 per gigabit per second number. So in total, we are talking about 4 demonstrators, which we plan to produce and assemble and test in the project. The first one is a 400 gigabit per second PCM4 transceiver. The next one will be then doubling the capacity to 800 gig, and once more to 1.6 terabit per second for the 16 channel one. And then there's one from ADVA, which is a tunable single wavelength coherent transceiver with 600 gigabit per second, which is So to achieve this, multiple new concepts are introduced within the MASSTART project. For example, draft for spot size and pitch converters, 3D packaging via through silicon wires, a new laser chip design, as well as a few more. Which you will see in the next presentations. So this is something I will not speak too much about. However, for all of these concepts and all new methodologies, still testing and assembly remains the cost driver for the photonics assembly and packaging. And this is kind of the message over for quite some years now, but it still will also remain in MASSTART. But this is exactly why ficonTEC as a company is in the project. So ficonTEC, we are kind of an international company with a headquarters in Germany, so in Aachen, where I'm located right now. We have few facilities and automation, as well as a small application lab in Ireland in collaboration with Tinder. We are an international company, so we have a worldwide sales support, and especially in Asia, where most of our machines are ending up, we have a local sales, but also a lot of technical support. So in general, we installed over 800 machines worldwide in the meantime and have an experience of 20 years. So from the head count, most of our engineers are in Aachen with 140, and then a few dozens worldwide. And when looking at the value chain of the QSFP module, for example, this is what ficonTEC really, ficonTEC can really offer a lot of different application solutions doing the assembly of these modules. For example, normally such modules start with the testing of the chip. So we can offer wafer level as well as chip. Later on, these chips can be passively or actively bonded to further devices. This is also something which we're offering, or then module assembly, lens assembly, finally kind of the attach of a fiber to this module. And so ficonTEC, I would say we call us as kind of a solution provider for the photonics assembly and testing. So, but now back to MASSTART and to the demonstrator one, or part of the demonstrator one. So this is the transceiver module of the 400 gigabit per second module. And so the design was done by DAS Photonics. And in total, we're talking here about 7 optical components which need to be assembled for that one demonstrator. This is starting with a laser array. Then we have an input and output lens into the silicon photonic integrated circuit. We have isolators for the back reflection. We have prisms to couple the light from the horizontal into the grating coupler of the PICs, as well as for sure some fiber ways for the external addressing the environment. So in general, as in photonics assembly, we can differentiate these assembly steps into passive ones. And for me, passive is kind of everything which is purely vision based. So we look with cameras to edges, corners, reference marks of the one chip and the other chip. And by measuring them, we can align the 2 components to each other. So for the passive assembly step, this is something which we want to do as much as possible in MASSTART, so to make it a bit easier and also faster, hopefully. So we have the laser array, the silicon pick placed passively. The other two components, the laser lens array as well as the fiber and lens combination, this is something which needs to be aligned actively due to the higher alignment accuracies. And active alignment means for me that we really need to power up the module. So for example, we need to power up the lasers so that we have an emission of light which we can couple into the silicon photonic chip and measure the intensity which is coupled into the device by photodiode, for example. So, and within the next few minutes, I want to concentrate more on the passive side of the assembly. So in MASSTART in general, it's really about the overall assembly line, so the combination of both. But for the next slides, I want to concentrate more on the passive steps and the goals which we are following with that passive assembly approach here is, on the one hand, we really want to verify of these passive alignment concepts, because the alignment accuracy which we need to achieve are in the 1 or 2 micrometer range over a kind of a chain of multiple components. So it's relatively challenging, and ideally, or not ideally, I mean, the main goal is really to make the whole assembly in a cost-efficient way, which allows then, not in the project, but as an outlook, really €1 per gigabit per second benchmark to achieve. And for this passive assembly, the keys to lower the assembly cost for this passive assembly, there are a few factors which play into a combination. The first thing, which is quite important, is really that during the whole product development phase, there needs to be a close collaboration between the product owner and the assembly partner. In our case, for the demonstrator 1, the product owner is just Photonics, but they've designed the module. However, from the beginning of the project, we have been in a close interaction to really discuss how we will assemble the components, where do we need some reference mark, what alignment tolerances which we need. But then this is quite important that really from the beginning, this needs to be kind of a joint development effect, which is relatively easy in such a project, but more complicated probably within commercial products. So interestingly, and then once this is we need the final product costs are defined by kind of 4 factors mainly, I would say. The one for sure is the capital investment of the machine. So how much do you pay for the machine? Then the machine should rather be small because it needs to fit into the clean rooms, and each clean room floor space is quite expensive, so smaller machines are highly preferred. And then definitely the throughput of the machine, so how many components can you produce per hour. And then also kind of important is, or not that important, but other factor is really the running costs. So how much, whatever, energy and also humans or the operators do you need to maintain the machine up and running. And within MASSTART, if it's in the passive assembly step of MASSTART, we had a closer look at the machine cost, the footprint and the throughput, and we had came up with a concept which is shown here on the right side, so that we maybe reduced slightly the machine cost in a way that we are not using the absolutely fastest and best alignment stages, but maybe slightly more cost-efficient ones. However, we make them really as small as possible, so to implement multiple alignment stations into one assembly cell. So what you see in the picture on the right is we have at the front, we have a conveyor belt, which is bringing in the components into the machine, which then can populate the individual 4 assembly stations. So that means we have 4 passive assembly stations, which are working in parallel, and therefore each station maybe doesn't need to have the absolute super performance, but as we have a complete highly parallel assembly with 4 stations working in parallel, the overall throughput is largely increased. So, and this concept was developed over the last months, and it's finished now. It's handed over to production. So this machine hopefully will be ready beginning of next year, and then can be really evaluated with the components within the project. However, the throughput of this one passive assembly cell is only part of the overall product. So we also have the active cells and so forth. So there's much more behind. And that's the reason why this one single cell is only part of the game, I would say. And this is a portfolio of the type of machines which we offer from ficonTEC. We see at the bottom left, we see kind of the rather easier lab systems, which are for maybe small production available. And this is a kind of a closed cell, which is really a production cell. However, there's no input-output feeding systems available, which is already included in that one. So we have at the left and right side, we have the feeder systems, which continuously can feed components into the machine and out. And kind of the maximum extension or something is this fully automated production line, which you see here at the top, which consists of, I think, 8+2 machines, a complete really photonic assembly line with input feeder, different alignment cells, and output feeder. That concept is also something which, for sure, only as a concept, because I mean it's a limited project. But the concept which we have in mind is really that for transceiver assembly, this is also something which will be happening hopefully in the near future, so that we have multiple input feeding systems for the PICs, the lenses, the fibers, isolators, and so forth. And then we have really the assembly cell with a passive assembly cell at the beginning, and ideally with the 4 stations in it, which then may keep up with the 4 following active assembly cells. And then for sure at the end, an output feeding system. And this is something which we already built for the automotive industry and delivered beginning of the year. And here you see a small, or hopefully you see a small sequence of how this system was installed, or only part of the system was installed in our, developed and built in our facility here in Achim, before it was then delivered to the customer. So it's just a time-lapse video where you see more and more systems are coming together. Okay, this brings me to my last slide. So for the conclusions, I'm pretty sure that assembly is, and also it will remain for the near future, the cost driver for photonic products. And to my view, in the last decade was mainly about improving individual assembly machines. And the next decade will be really on introducing a higher level of automation, which means we have multiple stations within one machine. The different machines are connected to a higher line control, which is controlling all the different machines. But it's really not about single machines anymore, but it's a complete photonic assembly line. And the first result from MASSTART which we have is we have the concept, and at the moment it's in production, of this high throughput machine for the passive 1 to 2 micrometer alignment. The integration of this passive and active machines into one assembly line, this will be then the next step. Once the passive one is done, we have an active one, and then we combine them and have also this line control set up and everything.